Hey everybody, thanks for tuning into Los Angeles, and thanks especially to my patrons on Patreon for making this channel possible. When I set out to make my second video about the West Santa Ana branch, Metro's exciting new rail line from downtown Los Angeles to Artesia, and eventually beyond to Orange County, I thought the difficult part would be figuring out exactly which route it should take into downtown LA. But, as it turned out, determining which of the routes being studied by Metro for the West Santa Ana branch's route into downtown made sense was actually the easy part. This one. We need to build this one. But how did it become so clear to me that the Santa Ana branch should be routed down Alameda and 5th instead of terminating at Union Station, as had been assumed previously? Well, the first reason is simple and practical. There is a lot going on at Union Station, and I mean a lot. See, when large, ambitious infrastructure projects go over their intended budgets, only very rarely are the actual construction workers and contractors themselves to blame. In truth, cost overruns are seldom due to human error, but rather the addition of new variables to projects that the planners would not and could not conceivably have been able to predict beforehand, no matter how smart or talented they were. For example, the recent cost overruns on Metro's Regional Connector project were in truth neither the fault of Metro staff nor the contractors hired by them. What actually happened is that over the last several hundred years, residents of Los Angeles had buried a lot of metal garbage in what is now our downtown core. But since nobody had bothered to keep any records of all of the crap buried deep below 2nd and Flower Streets, the Regional Connector's tunnel boring machine repeatedly had to be repaired after chewing through hunks of buried metal, which were never supposed to be there. Since no cost-effective method to scan for buried metal as deeply as the future blue and gold line tunnels has been invented yet, there would have been no way for Metro to reasonably predict it was there in the first place. To put it simply, the more variables involved in a transit project, the more likely it is that project will cost more than it was expected to. So if we want all the exciting upgrades to passenger rail service at Union Station to continue moving forward without a hitch, it's probably for the best that we wait for the dust to settle and allow Metro an opportunity to finish building the ambitious new train concourse they have designed before trying to cram another light rail line in alongside the existing Gold Line platform. But if the West Santa Ana branch won't be terminating at Union Station just yet, where should it go? It was time to talk about Skid Row. The poverty in Skid Row is so unnecessary, so extensive, and so objectively appalling that the United Nations Monitor on Extreme Poverty was recently given a tour of the neighborhood by the de facto president of its neighborhood council, General Dogon. Upon conclusion of the tour, UN Monitor Philip Alston was reported to have remarked that, "I think it's on a scale I hadn't anticipated, block after block of people, and that when you see how concentrated it is, it's more shocking." Quite frankly, anyone privileged enough to sleep with a roof over their head is probably not going to be able to speak credibly on the subject of Skid Row, something that Mayor Garcetti himself learned the hard way when he attempted to present General Dogon with an award for his humanitarian activism efforts, shortly after the aforementioned visit from the United Nations. General Dogon tore the award up in Mayor Garcetti's face. But what happened to Skid Row? How could any neighborhood get this bad? Who did this? We did. Or more specifically, urban renewal did this. See, up until the opening of Union Station in 1939, Skid Row was not just an important neighborhood, but the most important neighborhood in Los Angeles. The first taste of LA newcomers would see upon arriving at the Southern Pacific Depot at 5th and Central would have been a diverse and lively working class neighborhood. But the majority white electorate of 1930s Los Angeles didn't want the first neighborhood everybody would see and associate with Los Angeles to be the one most celebrated and cherished by working people of color. And so the city paid for a new train station to be built far away from what was then the lively cosmopolitan neighborhood of Central City East. In the late 1950s, Southern Pacific's grand old Central Depot, the first site of LA to all those who arrived here by train from 1914 to 1939, was demolished and replaced with what can only be construed as a deliberate insult, a hideous meatpacking facility that still occupies what was long the most important intersection in all of LA. As those of you who subscribe to the channel and support me on Patreon may already be aware, it has recently become clear to me that if we are ever to undo the harm that has been done to Skid Row, We must rebuild and restore that which rightfully belongs to Skid Row. Central Depot. But Skid Row isn't my neighborhood. Skid Row is General Dogon's neighborhood. So I hopped on a packed Metro 18 bus from near 7th Street Metro Center to the site of what was once LA's most important train station, where I met up with Dogon himself to discuss the idea of restoring some of the public resources that have been wrongly taken away from the residents of Skid Row since 1939, beginning with the reconstruction of Central Depot on its original location at 5th and Central as both a functional metro rail station, a retail hub, and most importantly, a community center.
Here.
General Dogon, organizer, LA Camp, human rights organizer. So yeah, Forbes, historically I've been known, I'm born and raised on Skid Row. My parents met back in the 50s. I was born 9 months later over here in General Hospital. Been downtown ever since, got my little job, first job downtown, got into my addiction downtown. Been around downtown. Now I'm a human rights organizer trying to make some change. But anyway, as far as I'm concerned, Skid Row was created as a containment zone. You know, when I was a kid, I remember there was no homeless folks. You had what they call winos, you know what I'm saying, people hanging around, you know what I'm saying, but that was about it, you know what I'm saying, but you know, the majority of the Skid Row right here, you know, it was created as a containment zone. You know, historically, when you look at where we at downtown, it's a warehouse district.
And this was like Los Angeles' Ellis Island, right up until about 1939 when they built Union Station. And back then, you would say Skid Row started to change.
Oh yeah, so yeah, greatly. So that's a good point right there, because I can go back a little bit further than that. I know Biddy Mason. She used to be a slave. She ended up buying her way out of slavery, right? And ended up coming to L.A. You know, with some Indians and some
Tonga, right?
Some Latinos. You know, way back yonder. And she owned a lot of the property along around by Broadway. In fact, she got a park called Biddy Mason Park right there on 4th and Broadway. Yeah, exactly, Biddy Mason Park. So we had settlers that was here a long time ago that was people of color.
Yeah,
right?
Californians.
Exactly, but I you know, when Alex told me, you know, that this used to be a train station, this used to be like the depot part, the welcoming center to the city of Los Angeles. When you look at the rest of it and how it's framed out, it fits perfect because there's City Hall just a throne's throw away from here. Yeah. That's City Hall. So you got the welcome right here, and then you got the City Hall building right here, right? And then as soon as you go here, then you got the rest of the cities. It's like opening up to you. So this would be the perfect idea to have such a welcome center right here, like in the past in the 30s. But
the 5th Street was like LA's main street, right up until they closed down the whole station. And what they said essentially when they did that, the way I see it, is that the City Hall said this neighborhood doesn't matter because this is the most diverse neighborhood in LA, and this is the most cosmopolitan neighborhood in Los Angeles, and we don't want the most diverse neighborhood to be the first neighborhood people see when they get to Los Angeles. And that's the real reason Union Station was built. Union Station is a beautiful terminal. I love that building, but that's the dark secret of Union Station, is it was built to disempower this neighborhood. The Union Station being constructed actually created Skid Row.
And see, that's the bad part about it, because you take away the culture. You know, with places. You know, like just like when I go to Louisiana, you know what I mean? I don't want to see other tourists around there. I want to see the people that's there. I want to see them youngsters and Grambling Band on the corner band.
Yeah.
I want to see the people walking around in their natural state. You know what I mean? I want to see the culture, the atmosphere. And that's what everybody you want to see. You want to see, you know what I mean, the reality, the culture, the historical part of it. You know what I mean? I don't want you to take that away for gentrification, to make it look like something that it's not.
So you're saying essentially that, like, what we got to do is when we have to reinvest in these neighborhoods. Like, we can't continue having no investment in Skid Row.
Exactly.
But what should that investment look like to you?
So the investment should bring back the culture, the nationality, of course. You know what I mean? It's like you said it from the beginning. LA, you know what I mean, is one of the most diverse communities, you know what I mean, probably in the whole nation. You know what I'm saying? I mean, not just the city.
And this was the most diverse neighborhood in the most diverse city.
Exactly. When I was a kid, I'm gonna tell you, when I was a kid, I used to be downtown, I used to be at the nightclubs, I used to be at the bar, you know what I'm saying? They used to be open at 2 or 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning, you know what I'm saying? I mean, swinging, black folks, white folks, Chinese, I mean, it didn't matter. I was telling Alex earlier that even the gang members got along, the Crips and the Bloods, they declared a peace treaty downtown because they realized that, hey, this is a cultural spot, this is a spot for everybody.
Neutral territory.
Exactly, yeah. This week you're gonna see me down here shopping with my girlfriend, my wife, my kids, you know, getting back to school clothes or going to get something to eat. Because it was the hub. It was where everybody came from for central stuff.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Whether you came shopping, whether you came to a nightclub, whether you came to see a theater, whether you just come to just kick back and have some fun in the sunshine.
Right on, man.
This was the place to be.
This was the spot right here. Yeah, that might have been there for a while.
And this building looked like it used to be something else.
You see a lot of
those. You want to say governor?
Yeah, yeah.
But all the rest of them you can see is all new. That's like an 80s style building right there.
Yeah. Right here, this is where...
That's the Salvation Army right there.
That's what that is?
Yeah, it used to be a men's drug and alcohol program. I got clean as well. I didn't get clean sober. I wasn't on drugs. I just had the monkey. He was talking to me. He was on my back talking to me.
You already know.
So I just went there just for like about, I don't know, about 45 days, you know. But that was a men's drug and alcohol program. And it's been closed for at least about 10 years now, man.
Yeah.
And,
a lot of history in LA. It's layered, but people don't like to sort through the layers and see it for themselves.
And it's just like I say, it's the perfect gateway to the city because you guys see, how can you not miss City Hall right there? See, when you know the truth about something, you know, it hits you like a lightning bolt, you know. And just think that this is where the opening of the city of Los Angeles was. This is where people came at from all over the world. When they would first walk through the city of Los Angeles, they would have to come through here. And when you look at it, the structure, the way it's designed, you will see that it's that right way, because it's like a parade right? You come through here and you feeling all good. Hey, welcome to LA. I just got my drink over here. Hey, we got the party. We finna roll down the boulevard and go down the street.
That's Old Fifth.
You go right, you can see it. It's a road map all the way down to the city.
So this was
go straight down, right?
This was like LA's Ellis Island. Like this was the grand entrance. This is the most important part of Los Angeles.
Exactly, and it's, you know what? It fits perfectly, and I see it in my mind. You know, what was that? About 80 years ago? Yeah, I could pretty much see it. How it was, like I was standing there today.
Skid Row was the most important neighborhood in Los Angeles. And where we're standing right now, with this meatpacking plant right behind us, this was Central Station. And this was the entrance to Los Angeles. This was the most important place in LA because it would be the first thing that anybody would see when they arrived in Los Angeles, would be this beautiful, rich, diverse neighborhood. But City Hall didn't like that. They didn't like that would be the first thing that people would see when they arrived in Los Angeles back in the 1930s. And
right smack in the middle of Jim Crow segregation.
Right smack in the middle of segregation. They did not want Los Angeles to be seen as the diverse, lively city that it always has been. They wanted to create a false image of Los Angeles. That's why Union Station is away from everything. That's why it's separated from the city. It's such a beautiful, historic building, but that's the dark secret of Union Station, is that it was created at the expense of what is now Skid Row. It essentially, Union Station created Skid Row, and if we want to fix Skid Row, the only way we can do that is by rebuilding what was taken from Skid Row, specifically exactly as it was, while addressing the needs of the community that lives here now.
You said the magic words when you said that it's a black secret the city done. You know what I'm saying? I mean, it's a racial black secret. You know what I'm saying? That people, you know what I'm saying, I mean, need to know about. Because when you know about it, you know what I'm saying, I mean, and you'll say, wow, you know what I'm saying, I mean, it's so wrong for you to, you know, just come and just destroy people's culture, you know, and take people's, you know, history like that. And so, for me, I would most definitely say that with the implementation of a city entrance like this, we rebuild this back again.
Yeah.
It would upbring the whole city right again. You know, not only spark Skid Row and bring a new face to Skid Row, but it also brighten up the rest of downtown as well.